How we doing, everybody?
All right.
Awesome.
Here we are.
Here we are. Tell you what, it's been wild times. I'm just glad to be back in the comfort of the penthouse.
Exactly.
Behind the rod building bench here for Mudhole Live.
Just feels right.
It just feels right. And you know, it's crazy because we're starting to get down to that holiday season.
Very close. I mean, we're pretty much here.
We're pretty merry and cheery. Pretty merry and cheery around here.
Yeah.
We got some decorations up. Santa's walking around. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, not bad at all.
No.
We got a great show tonight. Talking about rod repair. And we got a lot of announcements to make tonight. Yeah.
We do.
A lot of news to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of news going on.
A good kind.
It is. And I will say, though, some of the news that I don't like is the fact that it is dark outside now.
Yes.
We do have a pretty moon out tonight, looking over the lake. It's not too bad, but it is, you know, we are in that.
Savings. It got us.
It got us again. It gets us, some reason it gets us every year. But, you know, it's just another reason to build a few more fishing rods.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Or repair fishing rods.
Yes, which is a great time. You know, especially a lot of people already, unless you're, you know, ice fishing, of course.
Ooh.
But for a lot of states, you're getting snow, can't really fish. So right now is a great time to not only build new rods, but repair rods that you might have
You got that right.
had a few mishaps over the summertime. You know, we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. We've all had a mishap or two. That's for sure. What else is going on? All right. We need to talk about this show because we got rod repair. We're going to do replacing some worn out grips.
Yep.
That's a big one.
Huge.
That's just one of those that everybody fishes. You get that favorite rod, that rod that probably sees more action than all the other ones, whether it's cork, whether it's EVA, whether it's Win. We're going to walk you through how to regrip that rod. It's very, very easy. We'll give you a few tips, some things to look out for, and you're off and running.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And we were also going to talk about handles in case you've ever maybe crushed the butt section of your rod in a rod locker, in a tailgate, in a car door. Might have done that once.
Yeah, maybe.
Then we're also going to be talking about replacing guides. Maybe the ring cracked out of your guide.
That's a
got to
big one.
replace it. Tip tops. That's a huge one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something you can do on the water too.
Absolutely.
So that'll be a neat thing. You know, we'll show you how to do that. And then, of course, we will do, gosh, what else? I feel like I got something else. We're going to do the sleeving. We're going to do the brake. Oh, the reel seat spinning.
Yes.
That is one of those deals where if you got a rod that's old, or maybe somebody had a little bit of a boo-boo at the factory where it was built or in the garage where it was built, and you get a reel seat that starts spinning, fret not. You don't have to tear the whole thing apart. We're going to show you a little trick on how to get that reel seat re-secured.
Yeah. And of course, giveaways as always.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Of course.
We got,
Giveaways, we got some new products.
Yeah.
Might even have one here that we need to show. A little made in the USA Tervis Tumbler. It's even got lightning on it.
I think we'll throw that. Oh, yeah. Got to have the lightning.
Got to
right?
have the lightning on it. Yeah, because while we're drinking out of the cup there, we're going to be bending the limits of rod technology with lightning.
Exactly.
So we are gonna throw that into a little bit of a swag pack tonight, of course, for everybody that watches. So we got assortment kits, we've got workshop supply kits, and then of course we're going to do 2-piece series rod kit for the giveaways. So as always, we appreciate y'all joining. We know you come for the demos, but we know you stay for the giveaways. Yep. So we'll be doing that. And is everybody ready to get this thing kicked off? What do y'all say? I think it's about time.
Let's do it.
Let's hit that button.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
episode 63.
63.
Wow. There is this episode. There is an episode that will be in a couple weeks. It's going to be all about guides, the big guide show, the guide to guides. I don't know. It's going to be all about guides. We're going to be showing all kinds of cool stuff for that one. And then the last show of the year, you got to have a strong finish.
Yes.
You always got to have a strong finish. So we're doing the big finish show, or the bigger finish show, or doing finish 2020 style. I don't know. Something. We're going to be all about finish. We know everybody loves that one. That one will fall, what, maybe second week of December, I believe?
Sounds right.
Somewhere in there. So then that way, you get a good break of us, you know, for the whole holiday season till 2021, which is crazy to think. But yeah, we'll go on vacation. I think you go to like Jamaica or Turks and Caicos or something every year.
Oh, both. Usually both.
Usually both.
Swing
Okay.
by both a couple days.
Fantastic. All right, so we've got some new stuff, and we got some really cool new stuff. Not just like toothpicks or something. These are cool. The AB1 carbon fiber butts and roller guides.
So we have the butts and the roller guides. Both are super, super cool. I'm going to start with the guides.
Okay.
Right. So we have these in really cool sets. Come in this nice case, right?
Okay.
So we open this up. This is the carbon fiber edition. Super, super sharp. It's a 5-guide set. These are rated, let me get you a good angle there, Nick. Is that a little bit better? These are rated in the 80 to 130 pound class. So we have the carbon fiber edition. We also have, I'll show in a minute if you want to, open those up. We have the gold version as well. I'm gonna pull one of these out. So this is the double roller. I mean, this thing is beefy. So not only is it a roller guide, but you can also see that the legs actually flex on each side. So when you're dealing with these large stand-up tuna rods, offshore rods, these give you flexibility.
Have we ever seen that before?
No.
That's wild.
This is, you know, first of its class as far as we know.
And that's on all of those roller guides?
All the roller guides, yes. I'm trying to get a good angle there, sorry guys. But yeah, I mean, as you know, when you're dealing with a 50, 80, 100-pound class rod, those blanks are really stiff, they do not flex, but these guides do, which gives you a little bit, you know, better performance out of your rod.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have been dubbed as the world's first and only full floating roller guide.
Yep.
So they are independent mounting feet, and they talk about it as in terms of multi-axis movement concept. So it's one of those deals that, you know, you don't really have like flat spot effect, you know? You actually, the rod maintains its bend because, you know, some of us have dealt with giant roller guides, and even on a rod that is built for heavy billfish, tuna, things like that, you can still flex that thing over pretty good, and you want to maintain the integrity of that bend because, you know, even under heavy loads, that's something right there that, you know, will help maintain that. So that's pretty cool. And not only, I want to say, hang on. So not only do they flex like this, right? So they're going to flex like that. The feet actually pivot in and out. I don't know, can we see that? Yeah, you can see that. So not only do they go this way, but they actually go in and out as well. So if you can imagine, if we were to pull this apart, the opening inside on that kind of little axis or whatever is actually an oval and not completely round. So it's actually articulating this way, and then it can also, you know, move in and out and all that. So it does have more of a floating effect. And they come with a service kit, right?
Yep. So there's a few extra parts and pieces, a couple extra screws in there if you need them.
Oh, and that actually shows you right there. There's kind of a, I guess, like one of the inserts. It's like a bushing type deal.
Yeah.
And that does kind of show that oval hole there. I'm sorry, guys. I know that the bag is killing the deal. So there's that guy there.
So the black and the gold come in a stainless frame, and obviously the carbon fiber. And then we also, you know, we have the sets, which I mentioned are a 5-guide set. There are 4 total sizes. So you get 2 of the smallest size.
Yeah.
And then also we have them individually as well, in all the same options.
And they come with tops. Well, no, the kit does not come with a top.
No, it does not come. But we have the tips available
they
as
make
well.
tops.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's the guides. Super cool, right? We also have the matching aluminum butts, which you will see if you do get one. They come in a sleeve like this, which you can pull off, right? So, get a close-up on that. So these do have a carbon fiber layer over top, which makes them incredibly strong. It's a unidirectional carbon fiber. Obviously, you got the anodized. This is the gold version. We have a black and a silver as well. Available in curved and straight in a 4 and a 6 size. And then there you go. Thanks for the assist there.
You got it.
Guides to match.
You got it. Because now the guides too, they come in different class ratings though, right?
So we actually only have one class rating, which is the 80 to 30.
Okay.
80 to 130.
Okay, cool.
That's the, these components, like Chris mentioned, are made by AB1, which is a company out of Italy.
Okay.
And they are known for big game components, big game technology. So obviously these are the higher end in the saltwater category, the 80 to 130.
Yep, awesome. And then, so the straight butt and a bent butt.
Yep.
And then it has the same ferrule system that most of the guys are used to with a unibutt?
4 and a 6, yes. Which
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure if they match up to, say, an AFCO or a Winthrop.
Okay.
Have to check on that, but I would assume so.
Yeah, yeah. So double locking nuts and,
Yep.
and a ferrule system.
All integrated.
Very cool.
Yep.
And then the bottom of that is keyed, right?
It is keyed, so you can obviously, if you wanted to. It does spin right here, but it does lock into place, this bottom portion right here.
Okay.
Obviously, you can glue that if you need it.
Yeah.
And then the threading on this is just
It does. It feels
so smooth. Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Great technology.
There's no rattle. There's no,
No.
jiggling. There's none of that with those things. No. Those are pretty sharp for sure. Absolutely. All right. So we had that stuff. Absolutely killer. People probably want to know about the sale that's going on.
Yeah. So the sale started last week, correct?
Yes, it is live now, the pre-Black Friday sale, and I think that's going to run through November 17th at midnight. Okay, so we're talking 15% off orders of $150 or more and up to 75% off select CRB products and tools. That's the key. So 15% off orders of $150 or more and then up to 75% off the CRB products, tools, and supplies. If you guys are on the newsletter mailing list, you should have gotten an email. You click that, it takes you right where you need to go. It's got all of the CRB stuff there. And of course, there is a code in that as well, in that email. So if you haven't gotten the email, it is 15PBF20. So that's going to get you that 15% off 150 or more. So 15PBF20. That's going to get you that. But if you're not on the mailing list, come on.
Yep.
You got to get on that mailing list.
Got to have it.
So, and then of course, we do have to talk about shipping. Because I think everybody knows what's been going on 2020. It's been a wild time. Yep. But let's talk about shipping. Because we need to go ahead and get that out of the way. Of course, the carriers are anticipating a record demand for home deliveries, right? People are shopping from home, not going out as much. We have had numerous meetings. I know you, Scott, Brooke, everybody has got, I'm talking I's dotted, T's crossed. We've been working with them. They're giving us timelines and stuff. So the current shipping timelines on that, FedEx guaranteed delivery by the 24th. You're going to need to standard shipping by December 9th. That's a Wednesday.
Okay.
So that's more lead time than you're used to. It's more lead time than we're used to. We understand that, and we apologize. Trust me. So we're talking, if you want it by Christmas Eve, we're talking Wednesday the 9th for standard, December 11th, Friday for international. If you want to do express, like rod blanks and things like that, Tuesday, December 15th for express. If you want to do 2-day and you feel like you've been living right, Tuesday, December 22nd, FedEx will still get it to you by Christmas Eve. And then, of course, next day air we will have available for those that like to procrastinate. Will be that. And then after December 23rd, we will be happy to run your credit card, or you can stop in here and buy gift cards until the cows come home for Christmas. So even if you wake up, you know, Christmas Eve day and you're like, wow, I totally forgot great Aunt Celia, and she's a huge rod builder that I didn't even know about. You can still get her a gift card. So
Yep.
that's it. Perfect.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Yep.
All right.
And always, you know, don't procrastinate. Don't wait till the last minute.
Don't do that.
You know, shop early, shop often.
Yep.
You know, get your orders in now. And you don't have to worry about waiting till the last minute.
No. Yeah. No. What's been going on in the Rod Builders Workshop?
So we are up the photo contest.
Yep.
We are over 50 submissions.
Nice.
Wow, that's impressive.
You got to use that hashtag, #BuildToWin.
It's got to be at MHX or CRB. Has to use an MHX or CRB rod blank for the rod build.
Perfect. And the members of the Mudhole Live Rod Builders Workshop, we're talking like 11,000 strong.
Yeah.
11,000 plus. We're getting ready to be the largest. We're already the best, but we're getting ready to be the largest group there on Facebook, or pretty much anywhere, I think, really.
Yeah.
So, and those 3 entries will be eligible to win gift certificates to Mudhole, $250, $150, or $100 respectively. And of course, the winners are going to be featured in catalog, social media, and more. We'll probably even have somewhat of a shrine in here in the penthouse. Well, you know, we'll have the picture up, we'll have your name, the date. Maybe we'll send it to you. You can sign it and bring it back. You know, it'll be like the Rod Builders Hall of Fame in the penthouse here. So,
and there's still over a month. Still got
Still
over a month.
You got all the way.
December 15th.
That's it.
It's the last day.
That's it. All right. And I think last but not least, Santa's coming to your front door. This is the Christmas flyer. It should already be in your mailbox. If it's not, it'll be in the next day or two. I got mine.
Got mine yesterday.
You got yours yesterday?
Yeah.
Cool. So we had Santa there catching a sailfish in Stewart. And if you are not getting these, you can get them for free. You can request a catalog, which also gives you all of the flyers. You can do mudhole.com/catalog request with a dash in between catalog and request there. Call up customer service downstairs. They'll get it to you. Or if you make an order and you've never gotten one of these, just put in the notes, you know, right under where you say, hey, can you draw me a dinosaur on the box? You can also say, send me a catalog, pretty please, and we'll get her done. And I think that's it. I think even Santa's taking a break on the back, too.
Yeah.
You know, he's relaxing.
Well,
Woo-hoo-hoo! Look at those white legs, Santa. Come on, man. He needs to get to the beach a little more. So, all right. I think that's it. I'm going to take a sip out of this tumbler. And Hunter?
Last but not least, that's
it.
That's the last new product we got right there. The
Perfect.
MHX Tumbler.
That water is ice cold in that tumbler, I'll tell you what. All right, demo 1. What you going to do for us?
All right, let's clear a little room. I don't want to mess up these beautiful AB1 aluminum butts.
No.
All right, first on the list, we're going to be talking about repairing a guide or a tip that you might have on your rod.
Okay.
Let me put this in our hand wrapper here.
Nice.
So
that was nice of you to bring that.
Well, I was going to say, whoa. This isn't mine.
I don't know.
I think you brought this one in.
I did. You know, the good news is that my wife doesn't watch any of these, so we could bring a rod that I built her years ago and tear it up.
She has no idea.
She has no idea. No, I'm kidding. She does watch one of these out of 63.
Because you made her?
Yeah, maybe. She just likes seeing your face.
I don't know about that. Okay, so we're going to imagine, now this is a perfectly good guide and a guide route.
Yes.
And I hate to mess it up, but we're going to have to. we're going to pretend that this either has a cracked ring, maybe the guide frame is a little dinged up or messed up, maybe your guide wrap has a couple dings. We're going to take that completely off, and we're going to clean it up a little bit.
All right.
Okay? So first thing that you have to do is have a sharp razor blade. Don't try to do this with a dull razor blade, dull X-Acto knife. It's kind of like having a sharp knife in your kitchen, right?
Absolutely.
You want to work with sharp equipment.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is, first thing you want to do is we're going to attack this top portion of the guide foot right here on top. One thing you never want to do is really go in from the side or from the bottom. You kind of want to act like the guide foot as kind of a buffer between the razor blade and the rod blank itself.
Okay.
Because the last thing you want to do is damage the rod blank, right? So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to lay this razor blade parallel to the rod blank, right? And I'm going to come in. I'm also working away from me, just like you should be, right? I'm going to come in. I'm just going to come in and shave the very top of this guide wrap right off the finish. I'm going to get a little bit of the thread while I'm doing this. Peel these little pieces away. And as always, kind of take your time. You really do not want to make a mistake and happen to go a little too far and cut that rod blank. So I'm going to work a little bit on the side here. Got a couple pieces that are a little stubborn. And if you're lucky, almost like that, you see that little tag in that I can pull up? If you're lucky and start to peel this away, sometimes it will catch and keep going, sometimes it won't. But, as you can see, we can pull our guide out now. Let's get a little bit better. We good on the bench cam now?
Okay.
There we go.
So that's what we're left with.
Cool. So I popped this guy out, and now I can come in and try. As I said, try. Sometimes you can pull this epoxy away. It really depends on how old the finish is. Sometimes it's a little more brittle than others. And this one's a little stubborn. That's okay. So as you can see, I'm just going a little bit at a time. Like I said, you do not want to dig into the blank.
And you can use heat a little bit at times,
You
right?
can.
And it'll soften it a little bit.
Usually I try to stay away from heat,
Sure.
but if it is required, we will certainly use it. I almost have a little section there, but it just does not want to give. So,
All right.
I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to come in with a
Go back
little
to
bit of heat.
Yeah.
And really all you want to do with the heat is just kind of flame it. You do not want to hold it in one spot. Just want to soften up the epoxy more than anything. And finally, we have a couple pieces that decided to give way.
Nice.
So certainly not the fastest process, but again, do not want to take the risk of damaging your blank. So a little bit at a time. And all I'm really doing is just trying to shave off that top epoxy. Because once I get down to the thread, it will peel away really easy.
Yeah, that is always nice because it does, because the thread kind of acts as a, I don't know, something that sort of kind of bonds everything together. It's almost like rebar and concrete, you know?
Almost got a little piece there. See, there's a little bit of glue on the end. We can just take that off a little bit at a time. So you can just, I'm barely skimming the top of that glue. I will say you did a pretty good job on the finish work here.
I was gonna say, I know.
Go with a little more heat.
And I think one of the things too that you're doing there that is paramount when you're putting heat to a rod blank is keep it moving.
Absolutely.
You know, do not ever just settle in with a flame and just lean on it. That's a big, big no-no.
Exactly. Okay. I'm gonna come in now. So now we're starting to get a few bigger chunks there.
Well, the best part about this is you only have about 7 or 8 more guides to go.
Yeah, well, luckily this was the only one we had to replace.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you were going to do all of them.
All right, we almost got this side. All right, that's gone. One more little piece here. Pop that up, and that's gone.
I guess if I'd have used color preserver, it probably would have been real easy, huh?
Thank God we do not use color preserver, right? At least we do not.
Yeah, touchy subject.
So the final little bit comes right off. No, half of it does.
Yeah, right? Getting a text message from the wife like, oh no.
Is that my rod on the show? All right, almost there.
And then of course, as you go through this, you know, you can use a little bit of heat. You can use like the thread burnisher to kind of knock some of this off.
Yeah.
You know, you can use the blade like you're using. We have those CRB X-Acto knives that are always very, very good. So,
Absolutely.
you know, again, it's one of those deals where there's a number of ways to attack this, but Hunter's kind of giving you the, you know, tread lightly, don't dig into the rod blank, use the guide foot as a brace, those kinds of things. So, and then of course the good thing is that you're probably going to use the exact same guide,
Yep.
right in the same spot. Thread wraps, you're going to go back over it, so all that's really going to disappear anyway.
So yeah, and really you can come in. I did knock down this little piece of extra epoxy on the very end of where the guide frame was. And you know, these little bits and pieces that are in here, I'm not really going to worry about. I've got most of the thread off of there. If you really wanted to come in and try to, you know, kind of almost sand it down, you know. If anything, you definitely can come in with a little bit of sandpaper if you wanted to.
Sure.
I would, at this point, put my razor blade down, and I'm kind of done with that for right now.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't go too far.
I'm with you. We'll see if we can't show kind of what it looks like up close there.
So there's definitely, I pretty much knocked all the taller, you know, glue little ridges down. There might be one, there's one little bit right there. But like Chris said, if you have the same type of guide that's going back in there, it's gonna lay, hopefully I'm not covering up too much here, it's gonna lay right in that same spot where your previous guide foot was. So all of this extra, you know, it looks like it's almost already sanded, right?
Yep.
That's gonna be covered up. We don't have to worry about that cosmetically because it won't, once your new guide goes on, you will not be able to see it.
And then that's another, you know, kind of, you know, what the difference is when you actually use non-color preserver and color preserver. Because you can see all of that finish where it's actually on the blank.
Yep.
You know, so. Can't. There we go. Cool.
Sweet.
All right.
And then obviously you can just come in with a new guide, wrap it like usual, and you're all set. And you know, if, let's say the portion of where your guide used to be is, let's say, you know, this long, and you're coming with a guide foot that's a little bit shorter, just extend your wrap.
Yeah.
Just make it longer.
Yeah.
Just cover up that portion that doesn't look so great. You know,
For sure.
You can hide that very easily.
Yeah, no doubt. Cool. Pretty good.
Let's do.
Want to do a couple questions here? I know there's a first one there.
Let's see. Let's do Bob's question. For heat when removing guides, how about a heat gun? Yeah, absolutely. You can use, a lighter like we did, like just a little butane lighter. You can use a heat lamp or a alcohol burner, like we use a lot for guide wraps or finish. You can use a heat gun.
Yeah, you can probably even use a hairdryer. Did you already say that?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're not saying you have to use a lighter or you've got to use, a heat gun or a torch or something like that. Anything that you feel comfortable with that you've got around the house, just always go easy on it to start. Go, start with the lowest setting and then kind of work your way through it. But, doing a little heat does help.
Yep. Let's see, you want to do one more maybe?
Aaron, how about what if you had a double foot guide with a wrap underneath? Do you need to take it all the way down to the blank? Aaron, that is going to be how the guide is wrapped, because if you put an under wrap down and then you finished the under wrap and then you came in and you finished, or then you put thread and then you finished over all of that, you got to be careful, because that epoxy wants to bond to itself, and as long as you're using the same guide with the same foot profile and all that, you might be able to get away with just cutting the thread on the feet, pulling the guide off, and getting that guide to sit right back in where it was. Outside of that, you might have to pull everything off. So what I would do is, as I'm going through the process, I would try my darndest to not have to redo the under wrap. I would work very carefully and try to get the top wrap off, get that guide off, and then kind of assess where you got to go from there. See if you can get that foot, back in where it needs to be. And even, and we'll show this a little bit on the Big Finish show, you can even put that in your RBS Pro, sand it a little, knock down the finish, and then come back over it. When you come back over it with a very, very light coat, it's going to hide all that. So, long story short, you might not have to. I would try to approach it without damaging the under wrap, but it's going to be kind of one of those exploratory things and see how it works out.
Yep.
So, yep.
Cool. All right, let's do real quick how to remove a tip, because the tip area can almost be just as hard as the guide, right?
Sure.
Mainly because of the position of it. It's hard to put it into a wrapper, have it stable while you're trying to actually remove it, right?
Mm-hmm. And of course, this can be done on the water.
It definitely can. So all of you guys, especially if you're like tournament bass fishermen, you're out on the water all the time, carry either buy like an assortment of tip tops.
Yep.
One of the CRB tip assortments.
Absolutely.
Or have, one of each of the most popular sizes. Maybe a 4 tube up to like a 6 tube, 6.5 tube. Mm-hmm. Have one of each on your boat, and also carry you like, a razor blade and tip cement. It's really all you need, and a lighter, of course, that helps.
Yep, a lighter. Yep.
But that's really all you need to repair a tip on the water. So what I'm going to do is, with my razor blade again, is I'm going to come in. Now, I'm going to try to keep this steady for you guys. Sorry if I kind of move a little bit. So you will see that Chris has put a little bit, small amount of finish just right at the tube, where the tube meets the rod blank. And then I can also see a little bit at the top, which means you've put tip cement in there as well.
Yes.
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove this little bit of finish. I'm just going to go around. Again, I'm laying the razor blade parallel to the rod blank, so I'm not scraping up the blank. Just kind of removing this excess finish that's on there. Get those little pieces out of the way.
I do that. It's just a habit, and it's not something that you really need to do, but I, most of the time, will add like a little bit of thread work right before that tube. And then I will add finish with a little bit on there, because it gets so hot here in Florida. If you're a bass fisherman and it's on that carpeted deck, or if you're somebody that likes to fish after work and you leave it in your truck and, it gets super hot, the last thing you want is to come out you know, and your tip top to be all kind of wonky.
Absolutely.
So the little bit of extra finish on there is maybe a little insurance policy.
Yeah.
It's easy to do.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna need a pair of pliers.
I don't know about all that.
How about these?
Yep, that'll work.
And if you wouldn't mind assisting, actually,
I can do that.
Make this easy. I'm gonna heat this up for just a few seconds. That'd be like what, 5-10 seconds? And again, I'm not keeping the flame in one spot, and I'm keeping it more towards the tip ring than I am the rod blank.
And over the metal.
And over the metal. And let's give it a shot, see if it pops off. Nope, a little bit more.
And of course, you can kind of go.
Yeah, let's do that right there. All right, now
you can get aggressive with your tip top.
There we go.
Because most of the time when you're pulling these off, they're busted.
Yep.
So just grab it.
Yep.
You know, you don't have to typically be all that careful. But what you don't want to do, like you said, is you could actually melt that blank inside of there and it just...
Yeah. So make sure you stay up towards the top, towards the tip ring, as opposed to anywhere down here near the blank.
Yep.
And just like that one, it should pop off. Now you will see that there is a little bit of finish. There's a little bit of finish. Let's see if I can, like right in this area. I know it's kind of hard to focus, it's super small. There is some finish there, and there could be thread work as well, depending on the rod you have. I leave that, I don't touch it. There's no reason to, because that new tip is more likely gonna slide right on and stop at that very exact spot.
Sure.
More than likely. So, I just leave it where it is. I don't try to go in and you know, make that look nice. It's at the end of your rod. You're not gonna see it, not gonna worry about it.
Perfect.
Cool. So that's it really. And again, if you have your tip glue, all you gotta do is, you know, you can heat up the end of this, smear it on here just like that, put your new tip on, side it, make sure you line it up, and you're good to go. You're back to fishing.
It's dry in seconds.
Yeah.
So. Cool.
That's it.
Cool.
The tip and the guide repair,
Perfect.
super easy.
You know, we didn't talk about that I was going to do this, but I'll show, I call it the booger method, just, you know, because of little kids and stuff. So I'll put that there. Nick, if you want to come in and zoom on that, or be ready. So if you have a tip top, you got that lighter? So you got a tip top that has whatever size tube, right? Now, what I tend to do is, you know, you got this big long stick of tip cement, and sometimes it is a little awkward to heat this, then grab your rod blank and smear it on and do whatever. So I will actually, I'll heat this up, and again, don't do this on the dining room table at the house. So we're going to heat this up, and I'm going to smear it on the table, okay? I'm going to give it a second. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to roll it like little kids do their boogers. And then you can stretch it and roll it like this. Kind of get it to about what you want. And you can pick this off nice and clean, so don't worry about, you know, it's not going to, it's a workbench. That's what it's designed for, right? So now you're left with a booger of tip-top cement. So what you can do is you can kind of, like I said, you can stretch it a little and whatnot until it completely cools. And then what you can do is that'll fit right inside of the tube. Well, there's probably there's still a little more in there, but you can see. That goes in. And then you can just see how far it goes in and clip it off. I'll show you there. Just pinch it. And now you've got, I know I'm kind of blocking you a little, Nick. I'm sorry, bud. So you can kind of force that in there like that. And then from there, you'll just heat it up and go right on the rod you're going to do. So there it is.
Easy.
The old booger method. So, yeah, there you have it.
Cool.
I know we didn't talk about it, but I figured, hey.
It's a cool trick. You know, you can do that ahead of time, too, and have those.
Yeah, you can have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
You can have boogers all over the desk.
Boogers everywhere.
That's it. That's it. The old booger bandit is fixing rods.
Didn't think we'd be talking about boogers on tonight's show, but there you go.
You know, it's a mature audience, I know. And it's a couple mature rod builders here behind the bench.
Of course.
So, yeah. All right. What do you want to do?
I'll do a couple questions.
Yeah.
Seems like we're getting hit on this. All right. So, Adam, any word on the MHX X-Fighter and MHX E-Glass tuna blanks? So, Adam, those are brand new blanks. We're expecting those early December, late November, early December. Just with shipping the way it is right now, we're a little tentative on the date. I'd push maybe towards early December. Now, those are, like I said, brand new. The MHX lineup, the X-Fighters and the E-Glass tuna. They are going to be geared, obviously, more towards stand-up tuna rods and 5.5, 6 foot lengths.
Yep. Meat sticks.
Yes, absolutely.
For grocery shopping.
Yep. So looking forward to getting those in, add them to the lineup.
Perfect. Let's see. I assume this is coming out of YouTube, FRH290. In the event that you nick the blank, is there anything that can be done to minimize the damage, like sanding? If you were to nick the blank and you just take a little, perfect little shave out of it, I wouldn't worry about it. There's really nothing you can do. So you either need to just go back, thread wrap, put finish on it, and hope for the best. If you do happen to nick it and you kind of have like the end of a fingernail on there, you know, I would take it and cut that. You know, if it's like this and it's kind of up and your razor blade went under like this, I would maybe nip that off, kind of like a hangnail. Mm-hmm. Get rid of that, because that will want to run and it'll run on you out from under the thing. Yeah. Again though, you won't know until you make that first cast or you set the hook on a fish how much damage you actually did to it. So if you did it somewhere out in the tip where the walls are thinner and there's less material, whew, you might be in for a sad day. If you did it up near the butt, you know, on that first double-footed guide, or if you're doing it on an X-Fighter or something like that, you got plenty of material in there.
You're good.
You will probably be just fine. But again, if you nick it, shave it off, cut it, get rid of that hangnail on there so it doesn't run, and then hopefully you'll be okay.
Cool. So one more question about guides.
Perfect.
Then we'll move on.
Let's do it.
Douglas Copeland. If you break off the last 2 or 3 inches and you want to move all of your guides so it looks nice, how do you clean up the blank completely, because the feet will all be in a different spot? That's a great question. So first I would recommend do not move as many guides as you need to. Move the few as possible. Yeah. Because once you do move that guide, it's really hard to get that blank back to its original color, texture, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. You're going to notice where that guide wrap, where that guide was.
Sure.
You're going to notice, you know, a little bit of thread left over or finish left over. You can sand that very, very, very lightly, yeah, but you're still going to see the color difference. It's just impossible to get away from.
And I think, too, it's going to be dependent on what blank it happened on.
Yeah.
You know, if it happened on a blank that is like our standard MHX that really just looks like sanded graphite, you can get away with a lot more than if it happened on like a metallic series blank.
Absolutely.
Because anytime you try to sand or do anything on that, you are just, I'm talking a hair away from getting into that metallic finish. Whereas if you're on one of our graphite blanks, one of the ones that's like a naked finish type sanded graphite blank, you got a lot of room to work with there, you know, because you could probably knock it down a little. If you touch it a little, it's okay. But here's my recommendation. I'm not moving them. I'm probably not moving any. I'm just going to live with the fact that it doesn't look right, because remember, when we talk about cutting blanks, that's why we try to steer everybody to cutting them from the butt section, because it does little to nothing when you like take, we'll just use 2 to 3 inches because you use that number. 2 to 3 inches off the butt does almost nothing to the power and action of most blanks. You guys don't hang me on this. 2 to 3 inches off the butt does little to nothing to most blanks, all right? 2 to 3 inches off the tip is going to slow the blank down. So if you have a fast, it's going to be more moderate fast, more moderate. If it's extra fast, it might get, maybe still it's a little fast, but it's probably going to be more whatever. For me, if I'm breaking like halfway, so we'll call that 1.5 inches to 2 inches, if you're in the 3-inch world, you're all the way to this guide, and that blank is, to me, is probably worthless at that point. I mean, it could be, unless it's like a flipping blank, that is changed so much, or it's changed, now you're going to make it a flipping blank. I'm going to cut the guide and put a tip top right there, maybe. But if I'm halfway in here and I've just broke off a little, I'm just going to put a tip top and live with it.
Exactly.
I'm not moving guides. I'm just not going to do it because you're going to see it, and whatever.
No, I completely agree, and that's the reason I brought this over here is because, like Chris said, if you're in this range right here, we get a quick zoom on that. If you're in the, let's say, 1 to maybe 1.5, almost 2-inch range, that section, we're going with a new tip top. We're going to put it right on. If I am down maybe in this 3/4 range, somewhere down here, I'm actually going to cut that remaining piece of blank to the right behind this guide foot, and that guide is now my new tip top. And
I like that.
And I'm not moving anything else.
And you're just not moving it, so you're not going to cut the guide and put a tip top. You
Leaving it.
already have a tip top.
Leaving it.
I like it. I like it. Because, we have seen guys use running guides as tip tops.
Yeah.
All it is a running guide with a tube on it.
Exactly.
So it's really not a crazy thought process to get behind that.
Yeah.
So.
It's not the best, but you got to think, we're already in a situation where our rod is broken. We got to make the best of it as it is.
Sure.
Maybe we'll use it as a kid's rod, whatever it may be. So I'm not going to go removing guides or moving guides.
Nice.
No.
Whew, I like that statement though. I'm with you on it. If you guys don't agree, you can send him an email at hunter@google.gmail.net and tell him how you feel about it. So, all right. Now, let's move on, and we are going to do sleeving a rod blank. It's time to get some power tools out.
Sweet.
So, sleeving a rod blank is when one of your buddies may or may not have not pulled a fishing rod all the way out of a door jam in the truck, and like something like this happens, okay? So that just broke right off, okay? So what we've got is, we've got some expensive CFX grips here. We've got, this is a CRB seat with the carbon insert. What is this, a GEC 2 or 3?
I believe so.
We're not trashing this blank.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we are going to sleeve this blank. And I'm going to show you how to do that, because all we're going to do is we are going to add a new butt section here. And it's just, we're going to forgive him for breaking your rod. He'll get you a 6-pack or a handle or something. We'll fix it and we'll go fishing and not worry about it. So let me show you what you're going to need.
But first, we got to give something away.
Oh, we do.
Yep.
You got your credit card paid off?
I had to.
It's early in the month.
Last show.
Early in the month.
All right, our first giveaway, a CRB guide and tip assortment kit. First play.
Is that a question or is that a statement?
I didn't know we had a guide and tip. Maybe I'm. Anyway.
Sure hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
All right. The winner is Tom Geraldson.
Cool.
From Facebook.
Again, is that a question? Or
Geraldson from Facebook.
Are you guys putting question marks on there? It's like Ron Burgundy?
My name, yeah. Congrats, Tom.
Nice.
Yeah.
CRB guide and tip top assortment kit?
Maybe.
Got it. Perfect. All right. So we are going to, the integral part to this is going to have a rod blank that the butt section has been slammed in a car door or a tailgate or you stepped on it, something like that. It's broken, right? So the Dremel tool, it is, $50 maybe. This is the corded version. We had a cordless version. Not quite sure where that one went, but got this one here. And I got a cutoff wheel on it. It's one of those all-purpose cutting discs. Pretty much cut anything. You can cut metal and carbon fiber and anything. Got 2 speeds. We're going to cut this section off, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Of course, we're going to do safety first, and then, of course, I'm going to show you how to sleeve this rod blank. Now, we are lucky here in the penthouse because we have some spare pieces of rod blank laying around. Now, if you get into a position where you have a broken rod blank and you want to sleeve it, there's a couple ways to do this. Hopefully you've got some broken rods around the house. Maybe you got them lying around. Ones you can't fix. Ones that are just snapped in the middle, or you got, 3 to 9 inches of tip broke off of it that is now just for pieces and parts. You can utilize that stuff. So as rod builders, you really shouldn't be throwing that away. Just pile it in the corner with the rest of the stuff that you don't ever use, because you might end up using it. So we just have a section here, and what we're going to do is, I left it long like that because you never know what section of this you're going to use, and we're actually going to cut this piece off. So let me get my glasses. Fancy glasses here. Now, there's a couple things that, actually, maybe I'll put it in this guy so that we can see it rather than holding it. All right. What do you say, Nick? How about that? Is that pretty good for you? Pretty good angle? All right. So because of the way that you cut this, because of the length of this handle, I'm actually going to make 2 cuts. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut once to shorten this nub, and depending on where this break occurs, you'll notice that there's all kinds of splintering and stuff, and I'm not really going to work on it too much because I don't want to wear some of this, but you can see all this splintering in here. So if we were doing this in a different section or a different type of rod or something, you would want to make sure that you cut all of the splintering out. So I don't want to just cut it right here because those splinters and such can run on you. But I am going to cut it twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a rough cut up this way, and then just based on getting the Dremel level to cut it flush, I'm going to just shorten it and then cut it again. So here we go. All right, so that's cut 1. And of course, probably not going to cut it at me like that, but for the sake of TV, and I risk my life for you guys. So, yeah, sure. All right, so we've got a section cut off here. Now, if that's where you're at, that really doesn't do me any good, because now you got this weird little nub, and what are you going to do with this nub? So what I do is I'm actually going to run it all the way up to this grip and cut it off. And I can usually make a better cut like this, because you see the way that this is shaped, now the blank is not going to be hitting your Dremel, right? So I made the 1 cut, and you can see it's a little rough, and there's some angles in there because I had to attack it like this because the blank was out this way, right? So now I don't have to do that. All right, so a little dusty, but now we're cut clean here. Okay? Nice and clean. Now what we're going to do is, if you have your digital calipers, you'll check that in there, right? And then you run that to where your rod blank is, here, and you give it the old approximate. Now, of course, you can do one of these numbers, but most rod blanks are hollow, so you could probably actually run this most of the way, but you might run into it down here. Of course, it's now sticking out of this end. You guys can't see that. So what we're going to do is, this is about where we're at. And of course, did I leave mine? No, I got it. just going to put a little mark here, a little China mark here, as an approximate. Because what I don't want to do is, if that's where it's going to stop, I don't want to cut it there. Because then, you know, we have to have some up inside of here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back out. And of course, there's, you know, there's probably some physics professor somewhere that says, you know, you need to have 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever inches inside of it. So it's going to be one of those deals, probably 4 to 8, just depending, you know. It's just one of those deals that you're not going to know. Yeah?
Yeah.
I like the confidence. All right, so we're going to cut another piece above. Sorry. We're going to cut another section. We're going to cut it above the China mark so it can work its way up in there. I'm probably going to drop this blank. Told you, right? All right, and of course that doesn't have to be fancy. So now we are going to test it. That actually fits right back to the mark. Then what we're going to do is we're going to see if there's any knocking. So if you had a full-length rod here, you could actually take it and do one of those deals. And it'll actually work, and you will hear if it's knocking. And what I mean by knocking is this rod blank, this piece of rod blank, articulating and knocking on the inside of this one. If you guys have ever had a poorly fitted fly rod, when the ferrule fits inside and you're casting it, you can actually feel it and you can hear it going click, click, click. And that is because this section here is knocking against the inner walls here. If that does happen, don't worry. You can always arbor this with tip.
Yep.
Put you an arbor here, put you an arbor here. You're going to have to do some test fitting on this. So we'll just say for, you know, that right there, it fits perfect. And I actually don't feel any knocking in it. So you've got that. Now, granted, this might be a little bit too long of a handle section for most people on a bait caster.
Yeah.
So what you can do is match it up, you know, have your measurements beforehand from where you broke it from. Or the good thing is, if you ever want to change the length of your handle, you can always do it this way. If you have a factory-built rod and you want to add length and it needs to be 2 or 3 inches longer, I would just cut it off here and add. If you ever want to shorten it, that's even easier because you just shorten it from this piece and then you add a new butt section. So that's fine there. So what you're going to do is you would then cut, hold that for me.
Yep.
Do it about there. And this cut doesn't need to be super fancy because you're going to hide it inside of a butt cap. All right, so there's your section. And of course, keep this one because you never know what you're going to do. Now, what will help save this whole deal is, granted, this is good. You can leave it like that, come back in, put a decal, put some thread work, do that, put finish, you're fine. If you want to get even a cleaner look, I would use these guys here. This is something that is really kind of a newer product, right?
Yeah.
These little kits. Mm-hmm. So they come in extra small, small, medium, large, and XL, right?
XL.
Okay, so what you get is you get a number of winding checks in here, and you get 2 of each size. So the guys in the war room will put a link up, and for these winding check kits, you'll get, like I said, 2 of each size. There's a number of them in there, and we give you the measurements. And the extra small start at like 130 or 150. I mean,
very
tiny,
small.
like ice rod size. So I grabbed these. These are the smalls. I think I did a good job. I think this is about right. So what we're going to do is we will just reach in here. I'm going to get the smallest, dump it out and get the smallest probably. So before you put your grips on, put your winding checks on. And of course you can do it like this, or you can just do it like this.
Either way.
Yep, either way. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix up your Pro paste. What I would be careful of is you do not want a ton of Pro paste ahead of this piece that you're sleeving in. So when you put the piece in like this, there's your winding check, there's the sleeve. You're going to be the only person that's going to know the difference, right? Now, what I would be careful of is be sure that you put Pro paste on this section, not as much inside of the rod blank. Because what's going to happen, or what can happen, we're going back to boogers here. What can happen if this rod blank is not like, you know, an MB874, and it actually flexes down into this handle section at times, if it's a spinning rod or something like that, what can happen is if you stack epoxy inside of the rod blank before you push this in, this section is just going to act like a plunger and plunge that paste this direction. Then you're going to get a section of paste out in front of this, right? So now we got it out in front of here because it's been pushed into that rod blank. Then if this flexes, and it will, it's designed to flex, this piece could technically break, and now it's going to be in the rod blank, and it's going to be rattling all down. We've seen it, you know, whether you're fixing a rod or you're fixing some other kind of, you know, substance where you're gluing parts together with a ferrule that has too much epoxy on it, plunged away from the ferrule, the piece bends, the pieces break, the pieces of epoxy break off, and now they're free to roam around your rod blank and make a lot of racket. So what I would do is I would make sure the inside of this is cleaned out, maybe Q-tip it a little with some isopropyl alcohol. Q-tip it, make sure there's nothing in there. I would give this a quick little light sand, take the gloss off of this. If it is a gloss, this is gloss. So I would knock that down, and then I would step back from the point just a little bit, and then I would add the Pro paste here, and then we're going to put it in, and we're going to be turning it to get a really, really nice coating as we go in all the way until it seats, and then just leave it. Then I don't touch it until I know it's dry. So I do usually take this, it's set, you can feel it, and then I turn it and go stick it in the rod rack, let the weight settle on it, something like that. You know, just like when I glue my grips or my handles or stuff, I'll glue it one night, let it cure all day, come back the following night, and then you're ready to add you another winding check down here, and then, you know, add you whatever fighting butt you want. If you want to match one, of course CFX has got matching. If you want to use something different, come back in, add that in there, let that dry too, do whatever you want down here. You know, if you need a new MHX decal, call us up, we can get you one. If you want to do whatever you want, dress it up, have at it.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
That's it. That's sleeving a rod blank.
Awesome.
Sweet.
All right, we'll do a few questions here.
Yeah.
Austin's got a pretty cool question. Is it possible to remove the grips and reel seat from your rod and transfer to another blank? I would say yes.
Yeah.
Would I recommend it? No.
Not always.
But you definitely could if you wanted to. You could probably cut above the foregrip.
Yeah.
And then almost the inverse of what you just did, right?
Yeah, so really you'd want to cut here.
Yep.
Right? Cut there, and you would use the handle assembly as like a handle kit.
Yeah, and it would almost sleeve, it would need to sleeve over top of your new blank.
Yeah, so that's where it gets a little sticky, right? So
Or you could slide it from the tip down to the butt.
But it's gotta, that's if it all is gonna fit.
Yeah, it's very tricky.
It can be a little tricky. And of course, the reason it can be tricky is even if you're using the same rod blank, it's not going to slide all the way down
No.
because now you have rod blank inside of all these. So let's say you broke a 7.3 medium heavy and you're like, well, I'll just cut this one off, and when I get another blanket, I'm just going to slide. It's going to stop. It's not going to go all the way down.
Yeah.
So it can be tricky. Would I like maybe hang on to it? Yeah, if I broke the rod, I'm not just going to chuck it in the trash. I'm going to put it in the corner and use guides off of it, maybe do, whatever. You probably could cut the different sections, like, and if you want to try to salvage like this piece, cut it here and cut it out of here and drill the rod blank out if you really want to get that crazy with it. But we have more of these.
Yeah.
Trust me, we have more of these.
That's what I was getting at. It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
It's doable. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. The only thing would be is, if you had it on like a 7.3 heavy, and then you just so happen to then have, a lighter power that had a thinner outer diameter.
Yes.
That you cut this, and then you could sleeve it. Now you'd have to arbor it and stuff, and it would be doable. So, that is doable.
Yep. Another great question, John. Does a repair like this destroy the sensitivity of the rod? Honestly, I don't think, as far as sensitivity goes, no. I don't think it does.
I'm with you.
Sensitivity is more in the tip of your rod rather than the butt section.
Yeah, because we're behind the hand with
Yes.
all of these. So that whole repair is from where your sensitivity is transmitted. Tip, we're going to feel it. All that's this way.
Yeah.
So I don't think it does at all. That's like, I'm also the believer that wind grips aren't less sensitive than cork, but, that's another. Ugh.
Yeah. Now, it might change the power of your rod blank to a point where it's noticeable. Probably not. Because you got to think.
It would have to be like an ultralight,
yeah,
and you're putting in like a steel rod.
Yeah, the steps that you took to make sure the sleeve does not knock inside of the other rod blank. Mm-hmm. There's an extra portion of rod blank that goes into it. It's secure, it's sturdy, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say before we go any farther, we were going to mention this at the end of the show, but since Mike brought it up, we're going to announce it now. Today is the United States Marine Corps' birthday. I am not that brave. I was not in the military, but thank you to all of those that serve. And of course,
absolutely.
Mudhole does provide 10% off to all active duty, veterans, all that. We do have a military discount. Doesn't matter what branch, any of those men and women that have served. All you got to do is send an email in. If you're talking to customer service, let them know. Things like that, we will take. I think it is 10% off on the order. Mm-hmm. So it is a 10% off. So again, thank you. Happy birthday to all the Marines out there and any of the servicemen and women. We always, always do a discount because we appreciate y'all more than, really, than we could ever express. So,
yep. Another great question from another John. We have a lot of Johns in here tonight. Mm-hmm. Does the blank type make a difference for the sleeve? I wouldn't think so. As long as don't use like a solid fiberglass, rod blank. Yeah. As long as you could even use a fiberglass rod as long as it's not solid.
Yeah. Because then you're just adding weight at that point.
Yeah.
It'll probably be rigid enough for sure, but I think maybe he might be asking, like, for example, if you break an Elite X, can you use, just any kind of standard graphite blank, which you can. Don't worry that, it's got to be a broken piece of an Elite X, or vice versa. If you have a standard MHX with it's not going to be the same materials, but it's going to be close enough to where you can use the sleeve butt, with the Tournament Toray, the Ultra Resin, all that stuff. It doesn't matter if you're going to be sleeving the Mitsubishi, high modulus stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're good.
Cool.
Craig, what about a balsa dowel if you break a rod butt into two pieces? Yeah. The only issue is you just got to make sure that that wood dowel, you're confident that it is strong enough. You know, I know what type of wood balsa is. I mean, we've made like poppers and stuff out of it. I would also just be concerned, not to where I wouldn't use it, but just be certain that you're sealing it. I mean, it needs to be coated and sealed and all that, because you certainly don't want that wood to get wet inside of that rod blank. But if you do break it into two pieces and you want to maintain that part, you know, it might shorten that butt section a little, because I would cut out all your splintering and then put it back together. You could technically use a sleeve inside and just bring the butt back onto it. But, you know, just pay attention, which I know you will. I'm just, yeah. What else? Anything else? Timothy, can you swap out full cork grip for a split grip? You can.
Yeah.
Just remember, and I'm going to show you here in a second why you got to be careful of that. And I think you want to just go into that right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna regrip.
Let's.
And we'll show.
I'll let you get ready. We need to do another giveaway.
Yep.
Right. All right. Second giveaway of the night. That's going to be our ProProducts Premium Workshop Supply Kit, which has a ton of great goodies. We got some Pro Coat in there, some Pro Paste, self-sealing caps, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Probably some masking tape. A lot of good stuff in there.
Absolutely.
Let's see. And the winner is, let's see, Jake T from YouTube.
Nice.
Congratulations, Jake. ProProducts Premium Workshop Supply Kit.
Cool.
All right. So you're going to show us
Maybe I'll leave that.
how to remove and repair a worn out grip, right?
Yeah. Let me get a freshie here. CRB. All right. So the question was about going from full to split, and I'm going to show you while I do this as well. All right. So make sure I'm not hitting any of the guys on the boom there. All right. Here is a rod build with some worn out grips. We're going to show you how to properly cut these off. We're going to re-sleeve them. We're going to use the same grips. These are the Win CS400 in black. It's the casting swell split grip and the butt. So what we need to do first is we need to get this one off. This procedure does not matter if you're using EVA, Win, cork. The cork's a little harder to cut, but it's doable. The EVA and the Win is a little easier because it's similar material. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a razor blade. You can use an X-Acto knife. I like the razor blade because I can put a little more pressure on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut it. Think of this grip going around it as a clock. So right on top is 12, turn at 90 is 3, turn at 90, now we're at the bottom at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. What we're going to do is we're going to press it in like this, right? This does not take a ton of effort. So you don't have to lean on this, don't put your body weight on it, right? And we're just going to cut it down like that. And again, you don't need to use a lot of pressure because we don't want to cut into the rod blank here. It's a feel thing, trust me, you'll be able to tell. Then we go over here, now we're at 3 o'clock, we got it in there. We're going to go down, we're going to stop, cut it like that. Try not to gash down here because you'll scratch your finish up. Don't need to do that. Going like that. Now we're at 6 o'clock, okay, and come around here at 9. All right, so this is glued up. This is where we get some fancy pliers, and we're actually going to, sweet. Should have brought the vice grips from the house for sure. Sweet. I think we have some other pliers.
I think we do.
Somewhere, right? Oh, look at there. Vice grips. Sweet. All right. So we're just going to peel this away like so. Now, some grips are going to have more or less glue on them. You can see down here, when we were squeegeeing it down, you can see there is a lot of glue pressed down here, so it's going to grab this grip more so than it is up here. But we're going to just try to use this vice grip just kind of as a beak and pull it and tear it away like this, right? You can even get in here with your hand, snatch on it. All right, so one of the other fun parts about doing this is the tenon portion is going to stay up inside here. You can get whatever you want to try to dig that tenon out. I say leave it, because what you're going to do is just cut the tenon off the new one and slide it up. Forget trying to dig that out, because the tenon really is just there to help kind of center this seat as it comes down anyway. It's already doing its job, done its job. It will continue to do its job when you regrip it, so don't worry about it. So I'm going to try to get most of this off here. You also do not have to get every single piece of EVA off of this. Just try to get most, and then you can come in here with a razor blade in a minute. But back to the question a minute ago. I don't remember that person's name, but I told them to stand by, so hopefully they still are. So if you notice, it kind of sort of leaves a mess on your rod blank. So you need to be willing to do a lot more work to go from a split grip to a full grip rather than, to go from a full grip to a split grip, because you're going to leave this section exposed, which is going to look like this with just a bunch of dried epoxy, could be cork left over, could be all kinds of anything left over. So that, for me, is really as far as you need to go if you're going to re-grip it with the same grip. You don't have to get any crazier than this. I'm going to whittle some of this off here a little, just kind of knock it down level. But the issue is, you're going to see this pretty good. What I would do is, if you're going to go from a full to a split, get ready to learn to do some thread work.
Yes.
And do some thread work to fill that gap. You could do a tiger wrap. You could do dragon scale. You could do, all kinds of stuff. You could just wrap solid thread in any color, really, and then if you want to do decorative thread over it, or if you want to do whatever, and cover it. Because you're not going to be able to leave this out if you go from a full to a split.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. It's certainly doable, but it is what it is. So, all right. Now we've got the butt section here. I'm going to do this a little bit quicker, and I'm going to do it the exact same way. So, whoop, my bad.
There we go.
We're going to do it as we saw before. Making sure we got that. Yep. Cool. Let me do it. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 down here on the seam, and 9 o'clock. Cool. The old vice grips out. Got to have those, just like you got to have that Dremel tool. The fighting butts sometimes can be a little more of a pain because you've got a bunch of finish blocked up in there. There we go. Thank you, sir, for leaning on that thing. All right. And now you see why I cut it into sections, because it's much easier to pull off little 90-degree sections than trying to grab this whole thing at once. Okay? All right, and again, we're putting the same butt back on, so there's no reason to make that look any prettier than it already does, or does not. I am going to show, we're kind of doing not 2 demos in one, but I am going to show a trick here. You can see that I have a winding check there. I'm sorry, a hook keeper. I've got a hook keeper, and I just have it taped on. The reason I have it taped on is because there's already one up here where I would put it. But if you have a rod that is back here, it's not that it's wrong, I just don't like it. So the issue is when you got to slide this over here, this hook keeper, whether it's this style or another style, it might grab this and keep it from sliding over it. But we're going to show you how to fix that. Now, what we have to do, the inner diameter of this guy is a 350. So this is an MB 843. It's certainly not 350. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the tenon off of this thing. Because remember, the tenon, we're going to leave the original tenon because I don't want to dig it out from under the reel seat. So I'm just going to rotate this around and cut this tenon off. Now remember, we see this question a lot in the group. You can cut your tenons off.
Of course.
Anytime, anywhere, you can cut them off. Don't worry about it. All right. Now, we need to get a little ProPaste. Got that. And we need to get here, a couple reamers. Get the power tool out. All right. So now remember, this end is going to be larger than this end.
Correct.
So what we need to be careful of is we don't want to over-ream this. The good news is EVA is very forgiving, I could say. So we just need to get it to where it will want to get on here on the end. We don't want it to just slide on because it's going to get looser as we go up here. So we just want to get it so it gets on. So I'm going to work on that here real quick. Get me the next size up. Yep. There, sir.
That's going to be...
It's going to be that one, yeah.
This one?
Yep.
There you go.
If you don't have the extreme reamers,
Better get them.
get them. Now, I'm also reaming from this side down because I'm going from the butt section. If I was coming from the tip down, I usually ream from this section.
Okay.
Usually do a little on both, but you know, with EVA, it's easy to make it slide. So. Sure, that's nice and loud in the mics, guys. I'm sorry. Jay's back there with his eyes watering, listening to the mic.
Yeah, it'll wake up our viewers at home, you know?
Yeah, sure. All right, so that just kind of sort of gets on there, right? That'll probably work. Okay?
Sure. Question mark?
It's on the teleprompter. Question mark? That'll work, right? Question mark. All right. So that should work. Now, I think this is, let me touch this up just a little bit so they don't harass me about it. Working some of that tenon out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a bad dad joke in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've got that. Now, there's two ways to go about this trick. You can use regular tape and start down here, right? And go around a little bit and then turn it, right? You guys have seen this happen before when we do decorative wraps, right? So you can work this up this rod blank, right? What that also will allow you to do is it will allow you to jump over top and create a bridge over this hook keeper. So you go around, right? Get close, turn it around, right? So now we're turned around. Sorry if I'm going a little quick for you, Nick.
You're fine.
I wasn't talking to you.
I thought you looked over here.
I know. So now we're turned around and we're going to go this way, right? So now, see we're kind of wrapping. It's almost like you wrap up a guide foot, right? So we're going to wrap over the top of that, okay? And I'm going to make sure that there's a little bit of, you know, security, right?
You could do this for winding checks too, correct?
Metal winding checks.
Metal, okay.
Well,
and of course the rubber.
If they're rubber ones, I'm just going to cut them and replace them.
Yeah.
But the metal ones sometimes are hard to get around or cut off. So you've got that. That's going to protect that hook keeper, and not because you're going to damage the hook keeper, but because that hook keeper is going to be a thorn in your EVA's side when you go to slide this up.
Yeah.
I know, right? Fancy, huh? Now, what you can also do, and I will show you here in a second. Hold that for me. Yep. Spot me. Now, for the golfers in the bunch, if you guys have some really wide double-sided tape, you can actually do this. What you want to do, this does not need to go all the way up here, right? It's going to stop before it gets covered when it goes up, because then if it gets covered, now it's going to be trapped. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay this down, and this is the thick stuff, right? We're going to lay this down, we're going to go around the rod blank, and then we're going to peel this off. So if you have really, really wide double stick, use it, or if you just want to wrap around it with this guy, is this half?
That's half.
Yeah, I believe it's half. You can do that as well, but.
So the most important part is to make sure you have the sticky side on the outside.
Yes, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So, now, all of this I'm doing is because of that pain in the butt hook keeper, okay? You don't have to do this if there is no hook keeper, okay? And I'll show you in a second. But we're going to do it like there is a hook keeper just because it's the harder, more painful way. All right, so that's covering that, and it stops before the grip gets on there, right? So the question is, could you use the double stick tape underneath the grip like a golf grip? Yes, you can. So those golfers at home that re-grip their own clubs, it's the same thing. If you really want to do that, knock yourself out. I'm using ProPaste, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to do a little rough mix here, just so you guys can see it. Okay, it's not going to take much. And of course, I usually do this like on a cardboard box that I cut off after I got a shipment in. But we're going to do it in this cup because that's what I got. You can technically use the 5-minute for this if you want because you are working quickly, but you don't have to. All right. All right, spotter.
Okay.
Now the good news is it doesn't take just a whole world of this stuff. But we're going to do it to fish it. All right, so we got a grip, we got double stick tape, and we got ProPaste. Last part of this little deal is going to be mineral spirits. Let me get something to open this can. We are going to Put a little mineral spirits in there. I've got a brush. Let's see, I've re-gripped golf clubs before.
Several?
For somebody.
Mine?
And my own. All right, so we're going to put some mineral spirits on here. We're going to put it on the tape, because what that is going to do is it's going to slick up this adhesive. I like to put a little in here to get it started. Jumped right over that, as you saw. It is going to leave a little bit of, smudge there. Now, it's going to go right on. Now it's nice and tight. You can see we got a good little glue seam there. It's going to be nice, locked on. It's actually really, really snug as it is. And then all we have to do is come back in and peel this off. You're doing a heck of a job, Hunter, at spotting.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So now we just got to pull this double stick off, which is pretty easy. It's a little messy, but
Paper towels for it.
it's not any messy than, using, a gallon of ProPaste. And it also protects the rod blank from any kind of anything. So again, you saw that I used, you don't have to use both, double stick and the single-sided, but if you don't have the double stick stuff at the house and you don't want to go out and get it, there's really no need to, because you can kind of anything. So again, you saw that I did it into double stick real quick. All right, let's see, I don't want to tack this guy here. And of course, remember, the only reason I was using this whole tape situation is because of this hook keeper. If that hook keeper wouldn't have been there, we wouldn't have done this. We would have just... I'm really trying not to keep y'all here all night while y'all peck at this.
There you go, almost.
Yeah, well, and of course the tape is slick, so it doesn't help. We're just trying to show them that it's not a... Now we're talking. Oh, hey, now, my bad. All right, so there's your hook keeper.
Sweet.
Good to go. So imagine that this piece of tape obviously is not on there. I didn't want to wrap it and mar up the blank with it or whatever, but there you go. So we got that piece. And if, you feel the need to add winding checks or something, I don't know if that, yeah, that'll get over that. These are the silicone CRB winding checks. And, did I put that on backwards? No, I didn't. Be actually very surprised at how much that will actually flex. I know Nick's chasing us all night.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud. So if you wanted to then add a little CRB silicone winding check swag to it. That just jumped right over that. There's a little bit of glue there left, a little bit of ProPaste, and there you go. So now you got a check there. And then, of course, all we would need to do would be to add our winding check down here, if we want to, right? Gonna wring this guy out. Now remember, you guys like to make fun of me because I use the term waller, but it's just the way you do it. We didn't have to open that up too much because this is actually a 470. So this is the BTC. Let me do both of these here real quick so y'all can see, because I actually like these grips. The casting swell is the CS400. That's this guy here. And of course, they come in a number of different colors. And then of course, the BTC 250. It also comes in a smaller size. It's a 150 or 175?
I think it's a...
Put you on the spot.
You got me.
Put you on the spot.
I think 50.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple different sizes of butts and rear grips there. So anyway, and then all you have to do is you just check it to see if it kind of gets on there. Whoops. Mm-hmm. And it does. Just don't grab that one like I just did. So it does. Of course, I moved my winding check. I really like those CRB silicone ones. Because they got, what, 6 or 8 colors or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, so all that needs to do is just get on there, right? And if you notice, did you hear that? Pop. Okay, so here's the thing. There is epoxy all the way inside of this rod blank, 1. There is a tip top already on this blank, 2. And of course, when you put a fighting butt on here, it's going to be airtight, which is a great thing, except when you're trying to put a fighting butt on. So what you need to do is we are going to poke a hole in the bottom. You can do this a couple different ways. I'm actually going to use, this is a rod builder's syringe, okay? So, and I'm going to show you guys how to properly use this in a minute. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to poke a hole in the bottom here. Hopefully it will. It should. Might just have to force it. What I tend to do, there we go. All right, so we poked a hole there. What I would like, that's kind of a big hole. Probably, you know, you really can hardly see that, but you can. I would probably use a little bit smaller, you know, like a needle or something. You can put it in a vice grip, heat the needle, and just slide it right in there. You can do it with a paper clip. You can do any of that, but you get the idea. Because when we add epoxy to this, and of course you don't need a ton, we just need to make sure that there is somewhat of a relief valve type deal on there. So we'll do some there, we'll do a little here for good measure. All right, and let me grab here. Just because, remember, I grabbed there and now that goes. All right. So you can see that actually wants to slide on much better than before. All right, now we just need to make sure we line our seams up. Release the air out of there. Sometimes if you put a lot of ProPaste, you'll actually get ProPaste out the back of this. Sweet. Thank you, sir. You actually get ProPaste out the back of that. If you do, cool. It's no big deal. Just clean it up like you would clean up any ProPaste. Or if you just need to clean this section up here, clean it up like that. And then, of course, we'll get our cool winding check down there like that. Now, you can see there's residue on this blank from the double stick tape. That will actually come right off. Just use your isopropyl alcohol like you would clean anything else. Of course, I'm going to pull that tape off there, but just clean that up. Clean the grips front and back there. Make sure your seams are lined up. You know, you do have seams here on these wind grips. Make sure they're lined up nice and straight. Clean this up, and that thing's ready to rock. So,
brand new.
Just stand it in the corner, give it the old overnight cure. You're ready to go.
Very cool.
Yeah, why not? Good as new.
Yeah. And back to that question that you started with, if this was a full-length grip, you could certainly just take the whole thing off, right? You could add your split grips back in. Now that split section is obviously going to have a lot of the leftover glue and grip material, and it's going to look kind of funky, right?
Yep.
So that's what you were saying. Come back in, add thread work, cover it with a decal, cover it with thread and a decal.
Oh, we've got rod skins.
Rod skins, absolutely.
You could do abalone. You could do all kinds of cool stuff. So just use it as an excuse to get funky.
Yep. You can cover that entire, you could do a butt wrap in there.
Yeah.
Anything you would think of to cover up that section of blank that was previously, you know, under your grip.
Absolutely.
Yep. Cool.
Just hide it with any of that cool stuff. All right. So we got to do some giveaway stuff. We got to answer some questions before the last demo. We're pushing it. We are pushing it.
All right.
All right, what do we got? I had a rod break right above the reel seat lane. It looks like a crush, but it happened on a hook set. What could have caused this? And if the rod is salvageable? If it is right above the reel seat, that's a really tough place to have just a break from a hook set. If it looks like it was crushed, sounds like to me it was crushed. Yep. Now, it could have been something it was stepped on, and you don't know it. I mean, that happens, right? If you're fishing and stuff is on the deck of the boat, you can step on something and you don't know that you hurt the integrity of those rod blanks until you set the hook, and then it shows it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen. But yeah, so that, if it looks like it was crushed and it collapsed like that, it's probably because there was some sort of an impact from your foot from hitting it on something. Now, is the rod salvageable? I would look at how much it splintered up, but you might be able to get away with cutting it in front of the reel seat, cutting above that break, and creating a sleeve. You're going to have to get a little creative with it because remember, there's taper right there. So you can't just, pick any rod blank and go, oh yeah, I'm just going to sleeve it. But it's certainly doable to an extent. I mean, I certainly think it is. And then, if you want to hide that whole thing, just when you're putting this whole thing together, before you sleeve it, slide on like a longer foregrip. You might not want it, but it'll cover stuff. You can take an EVA or a wind grip, or you could technically do it with cork as well. You just might have to do some arboring and some finagling, but slide you on a winding check first, slide you on a grip, sleeve them, ferrule them together, and then slide the grip and the winding check down and glue it up, and you'd be surprised how strong a sleeve and pro paste is together.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, let's do this last demo, huh?
All right. The man has spoken. All right. What we got? Where did it go?
What you need?
I got it. All right. So, this one will be quick. Famous last words, I know. Well, everybody complains that I talk too much. I apologize. So, we have a spinning handle. Okay, just imagine that this is a full rod blank, right? Mm-hmm. This spinning seat actually spins on the rod blank. Let me see if I can. So you can see that here. I'm holding it, and the rod blank is spinning. This happens more than you think. Unfortunately, it's happened to a lot of us. There's a way to get around this, okay? I take and I back these threads all the way off, so you get a full look at what's going on here. And everywhere you're going to be working is on the inside of the reel seats where the hoods are, where your reel foot sits, right? So you can see a lot of times there's like a little logo right there. This one is the CRBproducts.com guy right there. There might be a American Tackle logo, a Fuji logo, Pac Bay logo, whatever. Work in here. Don't work out here because you're going to see it. So work on the inside here, because if this reel seat is spinning, it doesn't matter where you do this repair, but you're going to be able to hide the repair under here with your reel foot, and that's why we're going to do that. So what you're going to need for this is you're going to need a rod with a bum reel seat that spins. You are going to need some drill bits, right? We've just got some drill bits here. Not too fancy. Doesn't need to be, very expensive ones, because all you're going to do is drill through that reel seat. And then we're going to use the 10cc or the 5cc. It doesn't matter. These are syringes and the rod building. What are these? The rod building. I think the part number is just needle, right?
I think the part number for those, yes.
This is needle.
That's needle.
This is syringe dash
5cc or 10cc.
Perfect.
Yes.
So you got your syringe, you got your needles. These are sold separately, but you do get a pack. I pulled one out of here already. So I think you get a 5-pack of the 10 or a 5-pack of the 5s, depending on how much you need. And then you get your needles here, and they just screw in. So you're going to need these guys, And then you're going to need, we always talk about Pro Paste on this show.
Yep.
It's what we use to build a lot of stuff, but we're actually going to be using Pro Glue. Why do we use Pro Glue for this instead of Pro Paste?
Because it's a liquid. So if you use Pro Paste, it's obviously a paste epoxy. When you go to put it in these syringes, that's not going to work.
No.
So we have to use.
Because there it is there, right?
Yeah, that's not going to go in a syringe.
No.
But this liquid epoxy will do the trick. It will actually, you'll be able to load this syringe, and as you're going to show in a minute, actually shoot this syringe into your reel seat.
And it'll flow, right?
And it will flow.
It'll flow. All right, so the good thing about Pro Glue, it comes like this, right?
Yep.
So you can get 24 ml syringes, and you just 2 at a time, or 1 at a time, there's 2 of them, shoot them into the mixing cups, got the whole little kit there. If you don't want to buy all that, we also have these little guys. These little packs, they're, what do they call them, like a 6 gram pack?
I think 6 gram, yep.
So they've got, these are Pro Glue. They also make a Pro Coat, so the rod building finish comes in one of these little guys too. So all you do is you're going to cut the top and squirt it into a mixing cup and have at it. So we got these. I'm going to show you how to use these. But first, we need to work on this reel seat. I'm going to give you that guy. Cool. So again, we're paying attention. You want to hold that for me?
Sure.
Again, we're paying attention to the inside here where the logo on the reel seat is, where the foot would sit. We are then going to pull a drill bit out. This one says it's a 3/32 in the box. I don't know if I'm going to trust it or not, but what I would do is I would match it up to the gauge of this needle, right? This guy needs to be a little bit bigger than the needle you're going to use, and just the simple, you know, test like that, right? So it looks just a little bit bigger because we're going to drill a hole, multiple holes, into the reel seat, then so that this will fit in there. And I believe that that's big enough, that should work. I haven't tested it, so, you know, it's live, why not? So what I did do, though, is I had some other reel seats, and you can see I put a marker here. What you don't want to do is you don't want to chuck this in a drill and get crazy and drill through the reel seat and into the rod blank. It can happen a lot quicker than you think. So I did put a little bit of a tape barrier there, and that's going to help us as a guide. So we're chucked in. Now, another no-no is do not, and not that it's wrong, but I don't like doing this. Don't set it on the table and put your weight on it, because I feel like it's a recipe for disaster, because you'll start drilling and it'll go reel seat, rod blank, all the way to the workbench real quick.
See-through.
Yeah, all the way through. So hold that one for me there.
Okay.
And what I like to do is I like to drill right, you got to have a starter point, right? So I want to pick somewhere right here in this little logo. The good thing is there's some letters in there. So I'll use one of the letters as like a little spot, right? And you just see how quick that was. Boop, just popped right in, right? The tape stopped it. I didn't go into the rod blank. I'll show you that again. You ready, Nick? Cool. All right. So right there, I'm on a letter. Saw how quick that was. Boop, right there. All right. And it looks like that we are in. I'm going to test fit this needle. Yep. You can see, you can hear, I'm on the rod blank. So what you need to do is you need to figure out if you drill in, you can tell if there's epoxy in there or not. Mm-hmm. Or if you're looking all the way to the rod blank, you know, get your iPhone out or a headlamp or something. You can look in that hole and see. Now, here is the size of the holes. I don't know if you can really see them. I'll hold it as still as I can. You can barely see I did 2 holes there. There's one down here and there's one up here. But see, that's the good news, is you saw me drill them and you can barely see them. So the good news is that this will be hidden very, very well. Now, John, I'm going to answer your question really, really quick. Will that method work as well if there is a graphite arbor under the reel seat? Yes, it will. Now, you might have to drill multiple holes because what you're actually going to do is you are then going to take and spin this reel seat. There's gaps in here somewhere. You might not see the gaps right there in those first 2 pilot holes, but as you spin this around, you might go, oh, all the epoxy just disappeared. So which means, and we were actually talking to Todd earlier, and Todd was saying some manufacturers in the factory, when they build rods and they put them together, they haven't always used paste epoxy for all these years. Sometimes they've used liquid epoxy. They put them together and they have these big fancy racks where they take and they glue them up, boom, glue it up, and they lay it down and they line them up. And there could be 10 or 20 or 50 on a rack, and then they set another rack on top with little individual holders. They glue it and they set it down. Well, what can happen is, it's just like if you were putting finish on a rod blank and your rod dryer stopped and all that liquid finish is going to hang, drip off, whatever. So now inside of this reel seat, you might have enough finish, or I'm sorry, enough epoxy, but it all might be on this side, or it all might be over here, or it all might be there. So since the reel seat is spinning, you got holes. Now take a look. You can spin it around, and if you don't see anywhere where you can get this needle in and add, you're going to have to drill another hole somewhere. But keep it on the top, keep it on the inside, because then your reel foot is going to block it. Trust me, if your reel seat is spinning, most of the time, it's not because the whole inside is perfectly coated with epoxy and the epoxy just let go of this reel seat, right?
Nope.
There's going to be big voids. There's going to be sections where, you know, like Johnny mentioned, what if there's graphite arbors? You know, you might punch through and see an arbor, but you might be able to move up or move down, and then you're away from an arbor, right? So now we got the holes drilled. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Pro Glue, get a mixing stick.
Yep.
And this.
Need a cup.
Okay. Yeah, I got a cup. And I got this. I know. I'm sorry, guys. It's late. Stay with me. All right. We're going to do this. Now, the good part about this, too, just one tear right off. This is not nearly as picky as finish can be, so I'm going to fold them together. I'm going to work all of this Pro Glue out. This is one of those I probably wouldn't use the 5-minute, because if you do it, remember, you're going to mix it, then you got to transfer it into a syringe, then you got to search here and get it in there. Just use the regular stuff, you know. So we're going to mix this. You want to pull me out a syringe and a...
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I got a needle.
You got
here.
the needle? Okay.
Yeah, it just screws right in the end there.
Okay.
So the end of those syringes are threaded, and then that guy, yeah, locks right in there. Cool. Now go ahead and pull that plunger out for me. Cool. I like to pull the plunger out. We've messed with this thing. What you got?
I'm just going to tighten that down a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I know it's okay, but...
Yeah. Yeah, use those. Those are great.
All right. There we go.
Cool. So we've monkeyed with this a couple different ways. Technically, you can draw out this glue. Oh, would you give me a paper towel?
Yep.
Technically, you can draw the Pro Glue out of this mixing cup, but it really seems like that it wants to add a bunch of bubbles to it. So I actually just take it and do this method. And I try to pour it and drop it all the way in the bottom. I've got my pinky kind of blocking. Okay, so that's good enough for live. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get the plunger seated. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to let it run down. And you are going to get some out the top, okay? So just be prepared for that. That's why we got the rag ready. Now we're going to work it back up. I'm sorry, Nick. Now we're going to work it back up there. And you can watch it kind of come up and then out the tip. All right. So now we're loaded up there. That's actually 3 cc's exactly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the little spot here, put it inside of that reel seat, and we're just going to plunge it down. And we're just going to fill it. You can see it's kind of wants to come out there. So we'll move to the next hole because there might be an arbor, there might be a tape arbor, and you can see it's wanting to kind of bubble out here. Kind of let it settle. Maybe tap it a little, add a little. That was just an air bubble there. So we'll come back. You can kind of see it working its way in there. Okay. Now remember, there's a little bit left in that. You still have to align this reel seat. Because remember, we spun the reel seat around to look for a spot where we could inject epoxy, but that doesn't mean that's where it's going to sit.
Right.
So get those gaps filled in. So that's why you want to pre-drill all your holes. Get those gaps filled in, and then you're going to spin that reel seat back to where it needs to be. And then if there's nowhere else to put finish, actually going to just take some tape, and we're going to tape those holes shut. And what that's going to do is that's going to help keep any of that glue from wanting to bubble back out. Plus, after that's dried, you can pull that tape, and you really can't even see that those holes are there.
Yeah, especially once you put the reel in.
Good.
They're gone. You can't see them.
Now, another tip for what they didn't do when they were building this rod. I'm going to take it and stand it up, put it in the rod rack this way, not this way.
Yeah.
Because as that settles, we want it to settle around anything that might be in there, and that's going to create a better, kind of a better lock. So there you go.
Cool.
10 cc's with a rod building needle. Use the Pro Glue. Drill some holes. Be sure, there's your pro tip to mark the depth on your drill bit, because you can see how quickly you can go through those reel seats. You don't want to get into the rod blank. And that's why you use Pro Glue instead of Pro Paste.
Very cool. Easy and quick.
Yeah, easy and quick, yeah. 2 hours. Fantastic. All right, put 30 seconds on the board. Let's try to rip these out. Rapid fire, and then we'll give something away.
Cool.
Go ahead.
All right, let's do Michael Moore. Are you going to get the digital camo rod blanks back in again? Unfortunately not, Michael. Those have been discontinued. Maybe in the future, but for now, no.
Daniel Maffey, how about replacing the grip above the reel seat? Daniel, we're going to sort of hope that that grip is not as worn as the rear and the butt section, but if it is, you would cut that grip off the same way you cut the rears, and actually you would do a little surgery and cut that grip just at the 12 o'clock. You could open it up, slide it on, glue it, tape it where the seam is if you were using the wind grip, and it'll disappear. You'll never know it. So you got to ream it first, though. You got to ream it to match.
Yep.
That's for your calipers.
Jesse, got my first build that my EVA grip was a little loose next to my reel seat. Have or could I use some rod bond or a better option in a syringe to fill this void? So Jesse, I'm not sure if your rod is already, I'm assuming it's already built, or if it's not. If it's not built, you can simply just put a little bit of masking tape under that grip, basically act like an arbor, and that's going to build it up. If it is already built and your grip is moving, you can't really use a syringe to fill that. That's a tough one. You almost have to replace that entirely, which, depending on which one it is, if it's your foregrip, that's honestly really tough.
Yeah, but thankfully EVA is not really all that expensive, so you know, hopefully you're completely not out of luck there. Robert, does that re-gripping like a golf club hold up as well as the epoxy? It does, but you cannot use just plain old off-the-shelf masking tape the way that I did it, where you wrap it and turn it around. That tape does not have enough adhesive in it, and it is not strong enough. You have to get that tape that I had. This is actually golf club re-gripping tape. This is very, very thick. It's very heavy. It's a ton of adhesive on it. If you want to do it that way, and you also want to learn how to re-grip golf clubs, it's super easy. But get this tape. This is not just, you know, masking tape from Walmart.
right.
Cool. All right. That was pretty good. I don't think either one of us went over.
No.
We only took 2 hours and 5 minutes tonight.
All right. So a little housekeeping. Photo contest.
Do the photo contest.
Hashtag build to win. Over 70 submissions already.
50.
50, sorry.
Well, we've been up here 2 hours.
It's getting late.
There's probably been 20 more.
MHX or CRB rod blank, and then obviously hashtag build to win. We're gonna have 3 top prizes, 250, 150, and $100.
Perfect.
Still got over a month to get your submission in. December 15th
I
is the deadline.
love giving away Mudhole gift cards. Y'all know that.
Yep,
awesome. Also, the pre-Black Friday is going all the way through November 17th at midnight. So that's going pretty good. 15% off orders of 150 or more, up to 75% off select CRB products and more. And of course, there is a gift code in there. It is 15PBF20. So that is 15 pre-Black Friday 20.
Yep. And do not forget our shipping timeline for orders. That's actually posted on the homepage of our website, top right corner. You can check out all the dates there. Obviously, the sooner you order, the sooner you're going to get your product. Don't wait till the last minute.
Yep.
But check out all the time frames. We have our, obviously next day, 2-day standard shipping. When you need to place those orders to get your order at your house.
That's it.
So check that out.
Procrastinators beware. All right, Hunter. The last giveaway of the night is the grand prize. We're doing a CRB 2-piece color series rod kit with a tumbler.
With the tumbler.
We're going to get you a brand new, non-used, this one smells like water. We don't want you to have that one. And it is Justin Bray coming out of Facebook. So CRB 2-piece color series rod kit with an MHX tumbler that has lightning on it.
It's electrifying.
It's electrifying. Nice. We'll put that on the website as well. Cool. Fantastic. All right, so to recap, CRB guide and tip-top assortment. Tom Geraldson coming out of Facebook, first demo winner. And then the ProProducts Premium Workshop Supply Kit, Jake T coming out of YouTube. And then Justin Bray just won the 2-piece CRB Color Series Rod Kit with Tumbler. What else?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Our Hot Pockets are getting cold. We thank you guys so much. Everybody, happy birthday to the Marines.
Absolutely.
We appreciate what y'all do, and if you are not taking advantage of that 10% off military, and I know we do it for first responders too. So I apologize if I left y'all out. Any of the first responders, you get it. Trust me. Call it in. All right. So also after the show, run over to the Mudhole Lives Rod Builders Workshop. Get that build to win photo ready. There's 11,000 members strong. Get somebody else to join. Call your mom and your uncle and your dad and all them. Get them in there because it's a cool place to be.
Yep.
And of course, we couldn't do it without y'all. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the rod repair show tonight. It's always a fun one. It's busy. Sorry it went a little long. The next show is the Big Guide Show, the Guide to Guides, whatever you want to call it. It's happening in a couple weeks, so make sure you got your roller guides, your spiral wrap, any of those questions. I'll get the whiteboard.
Deflection grab.
We're going to do some deflection stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to have guides on guides on guides. So anyway, thanks again for everybody that joined us. We had Hoffma tonight. We had Guffey and Taylor in the war room. Steve was in there. We had Jay and Nick on the 1s and 2s. And of course, my left-hand man as always, Hunter McCamey.
That's right.
I'm Chris Adams, guys. Thank you so much for joining us from the penthouse here at Mudhole, and we hope you have a great week. Take care. We'll see you next time.